Monster Level 20 upgrade. Hey guys, Tristan here, and today we have the 20th upgrade for Monster. This time around I have a very interesting upgrade, and that would be the Hot Racing front and rear wide sway bar kit. Now this is going to have to be modified because even though it's for a /2-wheel drive, we do not have the part that the front sway bar mount is supposed to mount onto, which would be the front bumper. The stock front bumper had that bumper brace that connected the chassis to the front bumper, which this is supposed to mount to. But since I don't have that on this RC, I'm going to have to figure out a different way of mounting it, which I already have an idea, but it's going to require some drilling. So I am going to have the disclaimer. Alright guys, with the disclaimer out of the way, we can now move on to opening the package. So, with our trusty scissors, I'm going to cut along the top, just like that. I'm going to pull out all the parts. So first off, we have all the individual sway bars. Oops, they all wanted to come out. But yeah, so we have all the individual sway bars. We got the blue, silver, and red. Each one is telling a different strength. So the strongest would be the blue, and the lightest would be the red. I'm going for now to start with the silver, so I'm going to set the others off to the side. Now, we also have both the front and rear mounts for the sway bars. This one is very simple because it mounts straight to the rear shock tower. But this one is the one we're going to have to be modifying because these holes are just too close together for where I'm going to be mounting it. Other than that, we have our hardware with everything that we're going to need. And then, of course, the actual ends that are going to connect to the A-arms. So, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-fit everything, try and figure everything out before moving on, because I have no clue how this thing goes together. So, I will be back and I'll show you guys how to install it. Alright guys, now that I have figured out where I'm going to be mounting this and where I'm going to be drilling my holes, if you look closely, it's kind of hard to see with the camera, but you can see I've already marked my drill holes. So now I have a piece of wood over my desk space so I don't accidentally drill into the top. But I'm going to take my Dremel, take one of my drill bits, and just start drilling through. I'm going to go with a small bit and work my way out. That way I'm not drilling too much aluminum at one time. If you're using something like a drill press, you should be perfectly fine with just going straight with the exact drill bit you need. But for me, I'm going to take it slow, take it easy. I'm not going to rush it. Alright guys, as you guys can see, I have drilled the 2 holes where I need them. And now we're going to take the sway bar, slide it into the 2 grooves that is in the metal, just like that. Then we're going to take a screw and one of these specialty washers. As you can see, it's got this little coned indent, so that when we take the flathead screws and lay them in there, they sit flat. Now we're going to take this and going to be putting them in this hole and this hole. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take the links, and for each one we're going to need to take a little grub screw and insert it into the little hole on each one. Next, what we'll be doing is going to be removing the screw that holds the bottom of the shock to the A-arm. Next, what we're going to be doing is going to be mounting the sway bar links, and we're going to be taking one of the longest screws that they supplied us with. We're going to slide the link on, just like that. And we're going to take one of the silver washers they also supplied us with. And we're going to take all of this and screw it into the bottom of the shock. Now, instead of using the same ones that they supplied us with, I will be using one of the stainless steel ones that I have on hand. Next, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking the sway bar mount and sway bar, sliding them into this little section here. I'm going to be screwing in the 2 screws that hold it in place. All that's left to do to the front sway bar is to take the link in the sway bar and take the sway bar, put it through the hollow ball of the link, and screw down the one grub screw, and that will hold everything in place. It's going to be the same for the other link as well. With the front sway bar all installed, we can now move on to the rear. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to actually be removing my rear bumper, body mounts, and the spare tire rack that I have to do this. If you don't have this one, you don't have to worry about removing the spare tire rack, but I'm going to be removing all 3. So the bumper is held on with 4 screws, right here and here, both on the other side. The spare tire rack is held on with 4 again, 1 here and 1 over here behind the body mounts, both on the other side. And then finally down in the inside, there's going to be 4 screws holding on the body mount. Alright guys, so after a few hours, and if you look outside my window and you can see it's black out, yes, it has been hours of me trying to figure out how to install the rear sway bar onto this RC. And guys, it is not easy, because the way they decided to set this up is so weird. The way they want you to do it is to have this little bar mounted up here behind the shock tower, and then you have your sway bar bolted into that, which seems pretty simple, but when you get into realize that these have this little angle into them, you know, when you have your sway bar connected to the actual rod, you don't get that much, because by the time it gets like halfway through, it's about ready to pop out of the bar. It makes no sense in the way they decide to have this mounted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something differently. I really don't like the way they have this set up. So I'm going to throw away this piece. Well, actually, I'm just going to put it off to the side and figure out something to do with it later. If I do. Maybe as like some kind of wire tie. Maybe. Who knows? I'm not going to really need it. So what I'm going to actually do is, first off, I'm going to need to bend these straight. Alright guys, so while I was bending the ends back straight, they kinda fell off, which is very interesting. But they should not really be a big problem. They were actually very long for what we needed, so it shouldn't be a problem. Next, what we'll be doing is we'll be unscrewing the 2 screws that hold the base of the shock tower to the chassis. Now we're going to take our sway bar, feed it behind one of the shocks, along the base of the shock tower, and out the other side, making sure that none of the wires get caught in between. Then we're going to take one of the screws that held the shock tower in place, take a washer, slide it on in there, just like that, and then screw them both down. Alright folks, there's one last thing that we need to do before we can put on the sway bar rods, which is drilling another hole. Why? Because RPM does not have the rear holes that are normally on the rear A-arms like the stock ones do in their molds, which means we need to make our own. That's easily done by taking one of our rods, sliding it onto the sway bar, lining it up against the A-arm, and then taking something to make a mark on. We use this and just scratch it up a bit, and then we should have a seeable mark that we can use to drill our hole. Alright folks, the hole drilled, we can now finally put the rear rods in place. All you gotta do is slide them onto the post just like that, screw down the one grub screw, and then you're gonna take one of our long screws, slide it through the bottom of the hollow ball, add one of these silver spacers that they provided, then screw it into your hole. Before I start reinstalling all the other parts, there's one last thing I want to do, is that's shorten these extended body mounts. I do not need these this long, as I will never put a body that's going to require me to go all the way down here, at least not on Monster. So for now, I'm going to shorten all of these, and if I ever actually need to, I'll just buy a new kit. Simple as that. With body posts shortened, we can now move on to putting all the parts back onto the RC. Starting off with these body mounts, it's going to be 4 screws that hold it to the shock tower, just like that. Then we're also going to take our rear bumper, and it's going to also be held on with 4 screws right here on both sides, and then followed by the spare tire rack, which also is held on with 4 screws. We have 2 down here that connect to the bumper, and then 2 up here that are going to connect to the body posts. Here is before, and here is after, guys. Check it out. As you guys can see, it looks pretty darn good. Now, if you guys don't know what sway bar is designed to do, it's designed to help with rolling. So when you go down, say on this corner, it'll actually push the other side up just enough. Unfortunately, the hot racing rods that they are included are not all that strong. You can see it does do a little bit, but these rods are just very, very weak compared to what is needed. So I will have to upgrade these eventually. For now, I'm going to see how they perform on the street, just to see what happens, you know. Other than that, guys, thank you for checking out. I hope this video helps you. I know there is not many of these out there in terms for videos or installing them. So I hope those who are looking at getting this can take something from this video. And I'll see you all next time. And that was Monsters Level 20 Upgrade.